the best place to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin. I'm your host, Peter McCormack, and today I've got another monster panel from Real Vision. I've got Nick Carter, Tuur, Demeester, Robert Breedlove, and Alex Leishman, where I asked what is next for Bitcoin. But before that, I do have a message from my amazing sponsors. So first up, we have BlockFi, the future of Bitcoin and financial services. So with BlockFi, you can open up an interest account, start earning money on your Bitcoin, and you can use your Bitcoin as collateral and take out a USD loan. And right now, they've got a badass special offer for new customers. You can get double interest bonus if you fund your BlockFi account by July the 18th. That means for the month of August, you'll be earning twice as much as normal. All you have to do is enter the promo code 2X when signing up. Just enter the number 2 followed by an X. That's promo code 2X. If you want to find out more, head over to blockfi.com, which is blockfi.com. Also, let's talk about Kraken and why they are the very best place for buying Bitcoin. Firstly, they have world-class security. That means they are the most trusted cryptocurrency exchange on the market. You can go out there, you can look at lots of other exchanges, but they are the most trusted. No hacker is going to get your Bitcoin out of your Kraken account. And with their 24/7, 365 customer support, whatever issue you have, wherever you are, they're going to help you out. And they have the most comprehensive suite of tools for buying Bitcoin. At Kraken.com, it could not be easier to sign up and start buying. And with their beautiful mobile-first app, you can buy Bitcoin on the go. So if you're down the pub, if you're having a socially distanced beer, now the pubs have ended their lockdown, and you're thinking, you know what, I want some more Bitcoin. You can do it there, on the go. And with their margin trading, futures, and OTC desk, Kraken has every option covered for you. There is no better place to trade Bitcoin. Find out more at Kraken.com or download the app, which is available for the iPhone and Android. Just search for Kraken Pro, which is KrakenPro. All right, so onto the show, and this is another panel from Real Vision's virtual conference, the Crypto Gathering. Last week, I put out a panel held with Rao Powell, Caitlin Long, and Travis Kling, which was a massive episode, so I highly recommend you giving that one a listen. The team at Real Vision gave me free reign to host these panels on whatever topics I wanted to cover and release them out on my show, and they're both monsters. So this one, when they came to me, they said, look, we've got Nick Carter, Tuur, Demeester, Robert Breedlove, and Alex Leishman. What do you want to discuss? I was like, fuck, that is a panel. We've really got to use this opportunity. So I was like, you know what? I want to talk about what's next for Bitcoin. We've got this crazy, broader economic situation going on right now, and I want to talk about where Bitcoin fits into this. We have mass awareness. Anywhere I go, when people are like, hey man, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, I've got a Bitcoin podcast. Nobody asks what Bitcoin is anymore. They say they don't understand it. They're like, what the fuck is that? I don't get it. Is it a scam? But nobody ever says, I've never heard of that. So we have mass awareness. So I want to talk about what are the challenges for adoption? What are the challenges for getting people over the line? So in this panel, we discussed the barriers to entry, Bitcoin's value proposition, and how it fits into the current economic situation and what the future holds. It was fascinating to have all these amazing minds in Bitcoin together to discuss these subjects. We do get in some of the key properties of Bitcoin, but it does stay quite top level. The conference was aimed at Bitcoiners, but it was also aimed at broader people interested in finance and money. So yeah, I tried to keep it top level, but I hope you enjoy this. I think it's a monster. You got any questions, got any feedback? You know you can hit me up. My email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com. Just a couple of closing notes. I do want you to check out my other show, Defiance. Got loads of cool interviews and mini documentaries there. That's it, defiance.news. And I also need to shout out and big thanks to my buddy Luke Martin. I've been playing poker with him every week, and he's kindly been donating his Bitcoin to me. So big thanks to you, Luke. Thanks every week for coming on, playing and donating me your Bitcoin. All right, hope you enjoy the show. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Right, we're live. Hello, everyone. An amazing panel we've got here. We're joined by Nick Carter from Castle Island Ventures, someone I've interviewed a few times. We got Tuur, Demeester, also been on my show a bunch of times. Robert Breedlove, I recently interviewed for the first time recently. And Alex, we had dinner in San Francisco recently, but I've never actually interviewed you. So when Real Vision approached me about sessions to do, I came up with two ideas. One I did yesterday, and then based on this panel, I kind of like the idea of kind of what now for Bitcoin. And one of the things I've talked about quite regularly to people, especially as I travel quite a lot with my podcast, I very rarely meet anyone who's not heard of Bitcoin. So we've hit a mass awareness stage. Whenever I meet somebody randomly, it could be in an airport or a bar, whatever, and they say, what do you do? I say, I have a Bitcoin podcast. I never get the question, oh, what's Bitcoin? It never happens. but I do get a range of answers, and some people skeptical, some people inquisitive. So we've reached mass awareness. Everyone has heard of Bitcoin now. So I'm kind of interested in like what's next. I don't really want to use the term mass adoption because I think that's a loaded point, but I do want to see more adoption and more use case. So I want to work through that today, and I've got a number of questions, and I will direct them to each of you. And I think I'll probably just start with Tuur because you're in the top left of my screen. So Tuur, a starting point for me is I think there is a big gulf between someone like any of us who has a very deep understanding of Bitcoin, and then maybe one of these people I randomly meet who has heard of Bitcoin, but they don't really understand it. There's a huge gulf there. And I'm starting personally to think that perhaps in some ways Bitcoin has a reputation problem. Not even that it's just a negative reputation, but it has a problem in trying to explain to people what it is, because it is so complicated. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there is a bit of a reputation problem. And also, I think Bitcoin has been misunderstood. Like, Bitcoin has stayed itself. Like, it hasn't really changed in a long time, like since inception, basically. But I think the narratives around it, and Nick has actually done some good work around that, the narratives around it have changed. And early on, Bitcoin was often promoted as this kind of e-cash, the kind of some kind of currency to spend online. And I think to some extent that was misguided. I think Bitcoin is much more of a digital gold. And once you start looking at it that way, that the scarcity, the censorship resistance, that's really the highlight, then some of the speculative interest changes. Like, there's less short-term interest. So I think that's been an important part. And then in the short term, like, why hasn't there been more interest? I think the short answer is just that the price has been pretty much flat for 2.5 years, but it has been very volatile also. And so that scares retail people. And also, I mean, if you're in a hedge fund and you're like momentum driven, like you might get scared as well because you see these 50% crashes happen. But yeah, I mean, I think that the appeal going forward is just, which I'm sure we'll talk about, is massive, and it's becoming more and more interesting as we see more and more money creation all around the world. It really shows Bitcoin is shining as a scarce asset and a liquid asset. That's really important. And of course, censorship resistance is now more than ever going to be interesting for people to have.
Yeah, I think the change in narratives is something that Plan B actually highlighted within his model that we've all been looking at recently. And Nick, Tuur mentioned you there, so I'll let you jump in next. Any thoughts on Bitcoin's reputation?
Yeah, it's interesting. Tuur said it. Bitcoin is largely static, and the world changes around it. The way that people perceive Bitcoin has changed. Initially, it wasn't really suitable for much aside from spending on, alpaca socks and stuff. And as time has gone on, it's gained credibility, and it really has potentially staked out a claim as this new synthetic commodity, which people call digital gold for short. But yeah, it's kind of difficult to define. I think Bitcoin just chugs along, and it has, certain qualities that make it an asset which people really desire. They try and get a piece of, but it resists classification. And I think trying to narrow it down too much is an exercise in frustration. There are definitely people that have specific opinions of what it should be and how it should be used. And those people tend to get frustrated and desert the project for alternatives. I think the important thing is staying consistent with the original values, the kind of constitutional values that were embedded in it at inception, and resisting, political discretion, resisting lobbying, arbitrary changes, which we see all over the place in the kind of public blockchain space. As long as it can do that, stay true to its supply schedule, keep its core properties intact, I think over time is just going to undertake and continue to carry out this process of monetization, which it has been doing for a full decade now. So it's just a function of staying static as the world gets more chaotic around it.
And how about you, Alex? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I really agree with Nick. I think that